Good afternoon and welcome back to Deepblocks weekly webinar. My name is Michael Cavone. I'm the CRO, the Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks. I'm glad to be back as we took a few weeks off as Deepblocks has been very busy as we're traveling throughout the country as we expand our product and continue to work with and partner with different companies to enhance our product and again advance our technology. So today we're going to be focusing on scanning various markets to look at industrial opportunities and industrial development plays throughout different cities. So we're going to kind of use the market scanner of the software and kind of show and highlight how we can go through thousands and thousands of parcels, narrow it down and filter our search to just to a handful based on industrial development uses, and then kind of find the proper sites and pretty much show you how the site selection works with Deepblocks. So, but before we get started and jump into this demonstration and this webinar, we're going to just give a few more minutes, let some more people join us. But I do appreciate you taking the time to join us this Thursday to discuss, again, the industrial development opportunities throughout various cities and markets in the country. Again, if you have any questions throughout, just feel free to use the chat. Any questions after the webinar, feel free to reach me at michael@deepblocks.com. We could always set up a one-on-one demo as well to kind of go through the software in more detail and kind of cater it to your needs. Again, feel free to just to chime in at any point to discuss certain topics. You want to review certain things that I go over throughout the webinar. I always appreciate any insight as well. But I'm going to share my screen before we, again, get started. I'm just going to go through some key parts of our website. This is deepblocks.com. Some very useful sections of our website. We have our cities section, which currently we're in 43 cities, but some exciting news. We're going to be expanding to 100 cities in the coming weeks. We're finalizing everything as we speak, and we'll be in eventually 100 cities with zoning throughout the country. We are the leader in zoning data in the country, and again, just truly miraculous the amount of cities that we are adding to our product. We'll give you the zoning data. And as you may or may not know, Deepblocks is a one-stop shop software. It's a SaaS product. It's a centralized software where we're converging zoning data, parcel level data, market data, construction costs, demographics onto one interface, and then allows you to go through site selection in a very timely manner, saving you a tremendous amount of time. And upon selecting a particular site, you can then go into the 3D modeler and do the 1 year back of the envelope financial analysis to truly optimize that site and truly understand quickly what is the best development play or the development potential of that particular site. So, a lot of exciting things going on at Deepblocks. We continue to add functionalities each and every week, different features to the website. In addition to adding the zoning data, we're always improving our product and doing everything we can to fulfill the requests of our users as well as stay ahead of the curve. But again, before we get started here, if you do have any questions at any point, please feel free to use the chat. And as I mentioned, what we're going to be focusing on today is a little bit different than normal. Usually I go through one city each week, but today we're going to actually scan through various cities looking for industrial development opportunities. If you've been paying attention to the market, you'll notice that there's a lot of industrial market is relatively hot right now. A lot of companies using industrial development plays for their logistical and supply chain management. Certain cities that we're going to focus in on that are pretty hot at the moment are Miami with industrial, as well as Chicago, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. So I'm going to kind of go through each of those cities, show you how we can use the market scanner of Deepblocks. And again, in a relatively quick time frame, we can select a handful of sites and narrow it down from thousands and thousands of parcels just to a handful, and really focus in on the site that makes the most sense based on the criteria that we're going to be using today. And then again, as you select that site, we can go into the preliminary underwriting and understand the development potential of that particular site and the different features, again, just to truly optimize that site to bring out the best return on cost. So with that being said, let's kind of jump into this webinar. And just a couple of quick other notes, just again, back to the website. We have a webinar section, which we upload each and every week, the latest webinars. You can find the previous webinars and the most recent webinar. We have tutorials, which are 60-second clips, kind of showing you key functionalities of the software and how to use those. Our pricing section, which we're currently at 18,000, but just again, a quick note, as we expand to 100 cities, we will be increasing the price to 36,000. So this is a good time to get in with Deepblocks. If you can get in now, get in at 18,000, you'll be grandfathered into that price for life, as long as you keep that license. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. But let's now jump into the software. So again, as I mentioned, we're kind of focusing on industrial development opportunities in various markets. So the first one I'm going to kind of focus in on is we're going to look at Miami, Florida first. So let's go to Miami, Florida. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of demonstrate the different aspects of the market scanner. And as you may or may not know, our software is kind of broken into two different interfaces. The front end is the market scanner, again, allowing you to do our site selection, going through thousands and thousands of parcels, narrowing down those results based on certain criteria. You can apply map layers to truly understand and analyze the marketplace and get a good feel for what site might make the most sense for your particular use. Then upon selecting that site, the second interface is our Explorer interface, which is the 3D modeler and allows you to go through financial analysis, a 1 year back of the envelope return on costs. And that in the back end, you can enter in setbacks, enter in various assumptions, and really, again, do everything possible to optimize that particular site to produce the most optimal outcome for the development use. So one of the first things I do like to do is kind of do, again, a little more of a macro level view of the particular market there. So again, this is Miami, Florida. We're going to zoom out. And one of the key metrics that we like to use here at Deepblocks in our map layers is the buildable area ratio. This is kind of gives you an idea of high density output. It's really a good measure of understanding where growth trends are occurring in a particular city. So you see, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit more for you. So anything that deep dark red kind of gives you an idea. There's a lot of growth trending in this particular area. There's a lot of inventory occurring there, and just gives you an idea of where that city is kind of heading. And then you can kind of see the orange into the yellow. The orange is probably the next level of where the growth is occurring. So you just get, again, a good feel for the trends going on. So we can kind of focus in on this particular part or even over here and to begin our search. So then you kind of zoom in a little bit. And we can kind of then apply some of the other layers. For instance, we can look at employment. So again, because we're focusing on an industrial development play, I'd like to maybe get an idea of the employment percentages throughout the city of Miami. And you can see we can overlay it on top of that buildable area metric. So kind of as we focus here, we got relatively decent employment percentages in that 68 to 78% range. Go up a little more north, we're looking at 70, 78%. So these seem to be very solid areas of employment percentages. So just again, a good little metric just to get a good feel for the particular market. We can look at median income just to get an idea of the incomes and the average income in a particular area. Again, same concept, the heat map will appear and just overlay on top of them. Again, we're looking at these two different regions of Miami and to get an idea of the median incomes. And again, we continue to zoom in a bit more. Now, again, because we're focusing on industrial, we can get an idea of what the industrial rates are for the particular market. We use machine learning to bring you a very solid baseline of what the market rate is for dollar per square foot. We are constantly validating our numbers to make sure we are bringing you the most accurate information. But again, you can see here as we look at these, as it overlays on top of the buildable area that I'm kind of focusing in on, we're looking at $20 for $20.25 a square foot over here, down to $18.52, and then kind of in this region we're looking at around $19 to $22 a square foot. So relatively good numbers for dollar per square foot on the industrial rates. Again, so these are two solid areas to kind of get an idea. I might focus a little more on this northern part, but again, so the next kind of step is we continue to zoom in and a little bit more. And now my next step now is going to kind of bring up all the parcels and start to refine our search based on different criteria. So again, the whole concept here using Deepblocks is to just go through thousands and thousands of parcels and narrow it down just to a handful based on our criteria. I mean, process like this can take weeks, sometimes months in the older ways, but with our software, you're out, again, able to do it in minutes. We actually have clients that we are currently working with that have demonstrated how they found perfect off-market deals within such a short period of time versus the way they used to do it. And they're just, very thankful for the opportunity to use the software. So they've seen tremendous benefits from using it. And again, relatively immediate impact that they have at their company. So as I mentioned, we're going to continue to zoom in for these parcels. You'll see the parcel lines appear. Just again, another piece of advice. We like to recommend using Google Chrome. I like to put the zoom at 80%. The more parcels you can get into your viewport on your screen, the better off you are, because it allows you to capture as many sites as possible and then narrow down those sites. So, all right, so I'm going to do a little bit more. The parcels should start to appear. There we go. Excuse me. All right, so as the parcels appear, one of the next steps I'd like to do is I turn on lot size, and I'm going to put 1.5 million into this just to get a good understanding. There's 3,700 parcels currently in my viewport, and that just gives you an idea how fast we can go from 3,700 down just to a handful based on the criteria we're going to put in. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to look at industrial uses allowed. You'll see there's 511 parcels matching. I'm not going to go to existing building, put zeros in here. We're going to look for vacant land. Excuse me. Now we're down to 152. So again, in a matter of seconds, we went from over 3,000 parcels down to 152 parcels matching based on industrial, on vacant land. And one of the other key criteria I like to put in is buildable area. So, roughly for an industrial play, the current examples I'm trying to build out, let's start out with 100,000 first. Now we're down to 13 parcels. I'm going to try to go up to 200,000, down to 5, and see if we can find one for 300,000. Just to give you kind of an idea, like Amazon type of distribution centers are almost 800,000 buildable area and square footage, but I'm looking for more of a 300,000 square foot plot that I can build on for this particular example. And now we're down to 1 parcel, which is perfect. We're going to zoom in now. Another cool little thing we like to sometimes recommend when you're doing industrial type plays, look at the road types, just to get an idea of the different roads that are existing throughout the area. So, all right. So right here is the one building I was kind of focusing in on right here. You can see it's kind of off the main artery. The map legend here will kind of give you an idea of what the different road types are. This is a major collector road, so it's not a major interstate, but it's still a relatively decent location in terms of the road. I believe that's the one that, yes, it's a relatively good location here, just to give an idea. And kind of next steps you would go through are you kind of go into that preliminary underwriting and just start to optimize and review what the best development play will be on this particular site. So you can always also use Street View to just get an idea of and confirm what is in that particular area. So that's just kind of one way of going through and, again, very, very quickly going through the market and narrowing down just to one result. So I just want to kind of, again, I want to bounce around a little bit today, kind of focus a little more on the market scanner. And I will kind of jump into some of the remodeling and some other examples, but let's just again jump into another city. We're going to go to Chicago, Illinois. And just what I'm trying to do, again, demonstrate how you can go to various markets. And what we like to indicate with Deepblocks that you can basically, again, go through site selection at scale. And it's something that not many other pieces of software allow you to do. It gives you the ability to go through various different markets, again, pump in criteria. So for instance, if you are doing things at scale and you have certain specific guidelines, you can easily enter them into your system and go to these different markets that we provide and quickly identify these sites that meet your requirements to, again, to optimize the development place. So again, same concept. We're going to zoom back out, get a good feel for the market here in Chicago, Illinois. Turn the road type off. So we're going to go back to general, turn on this buildable area ratio. And again, just get a good feel for what type of growth we're seeing in this part of the country in Chicago. Again, right here in this central part, you see some solid growth, kind of, and it's spreading out a little bit in the surrounding areas. So I'm going to kind of focus in on this particular part of Chicago. Excuse me. All right, so again, we leave that buildable area ratio on. We turn the people layer on. And we're going to start again, kind of evaluating, look at the employment to get an idea of the employment percentages in this particular part where the buildable area is strong. And we're also going to look at the median income. Again, these are just good metrics to validate that these areas are of interest, and again, showing good, as I mentioned, pockets of density. And then lastly, we can look at the population, just to get an idea of what kind of populations in the surrounding areas. And also we can look again at the industrial rates. So here you can see we have $30 per square foot, which is a solid number. We can kind of focus in around this area and see again what sites again will be zoned for the use of industrial. So as I mentioned, we'll continue to zoom in and until those parcels appear. And once those parcels appear, we can start to use the market scanner and kind of go through the same steps we just went through as we did in Miami. So as you notice, the blue outlines, once they appear, you know you're zoomed in enough to start working on these and using the market scanner and the search engine. So I'm going to turn the buildable area off. All right, so we're going to look again for industrial. Well, first, as I mentioned, I always like to just get an idea of how many parcels we're looking at in a particular viewport at the moment. Again, all you just simply do is I just go from 0 to 1.5 million, just gives me a good idea. We're looking at 2,500 roughly. The bigger your monitor, the more parcels and that will fit into your viewport. And again, if you zoom in a bit as well, and go to the 80% on your screen, it also allows you to encapsulate more parcels. So looking at about 2,500 parcels. And as I mentioned, we're going to look for industrial. Get to that, so down to 1,500. Again, same concept. We're now looking at buildable area. We're going to start out with, this time we're going to look for a little bit bigger of an industrial site from 300,000 up to 800,000 just to see what makes sense. We're down to already 135 parcels matching. Now look at, see, we got from 500,000 down to 58. And lastly, let's see for 800,000, just to get an idea of a real big the distribution center that I'm possibly interesting in developing. And as I mentioned, we can go to the road type and kind of just get an idea and start scrolling a little bit more. So here you can see, as I mentioned, this is a little bit of more of a main artery of a road. This could be a good option. So let's just check out, we're gonna look at the street view, see if this makes sense. The street view, again, is a great little feature just to help you kind of get an idea of a particular site to see if what currently exists. This is probably not going to work as you look at like their existing buildings in place. So let's continue to go back to our search and continue to scan this market and see what else might make sense. And again, just keep in mind, we just went from over again, almost 3,000 parcels, and we're just looking at now 10. So we can kind of get an idea of what makes sense. I'm going to kind of move around a little bit. Just see if there's something of better interest that works for us here. See what we got here. All right, good size site right there. And now this is perfect. So we got a vacant lot right here, a parking lot. So this could be something, again, this could be a perfect off-market deal for a distribution center. And this might make perfect sense. We have two main roads right here as well. It's a corner lot. And this could be a great opportunity for a distribution or industrial play. And just to give you an idea of what can be developed here, I've actually already did a project, so I'm just going to kind of jump right into it just to show you and give you an idea of what I built out on this particular property in Chicago. believe it's this one. So, and the cool thing about Deepblocks, again, all the projects you create, they automatically save in your portfolio, and you can go through various iterations with all these projects. So this is just one iteration. What I did here was actually, because of this particular site that I selected, it's zoned for, I'll show you the property info, which again, when you select a site, you can go to the property info on the front end interface of the market scanner, and it also transfers through into this back end interface as well in the Explorer. And we can kind of see all the zoning information here. We have the zoning limits, the FAR, units allowed. So this is zoned not only for industrial, but also for residential, which gives you a little bit of flexibility of what you can put on this particular lot. Then we get your parking by use. You'll see the general uses allowed, specific and detailed uses based on those general uses. And lastly, you'll see the setbacks that are required. And as you can tell, what I did is I went in, I kind of already, again, entered in all the assumptions. Now, the first steps we always advise our users to do is go into the parking, get that established based on the zoning. As I mentioned, it's one space per, let's see, for the first 100 and 0.6 for all additional units. Basically what I did is I just put 1.6 in. And then again, we have the industrial as well is, let's see, none for the first 35,000 square feet, and then you can see it's 1.33 after for every 1,000 square feet. I just put in 1.3 just for the sake of this example. And I just kind of started adjusting my various property uses. So I went into the industrial, kind of adjusted the gross buildable, 145,000 square feet. I went into the multifamily. We did about, and this is zoned for up to 900 units, I believe. Yeah, 929 units. However, there is an FAR of 5. So I was able to do about 545 2 bedrooms at 1,060 square feet and get a decent RRC 1 year back of the envelope, return on cost of 5.68. And you can go into your return analysis, look at the assumptions, kind of make sure everything's falling within line. We're at 4.77 FAR without parking. Additionally, I put some setbacks in. Now, only required was a 30-foot on the rear. So just to give you an idea how that works, you can go into setback mode. We can uniquely identify each side. I put a D here for the rear. You can see that 30-foot space. But I also put some setbacks around the rest of the building at 5 feet. And then I went to specific floors to kind of just create a little bit of a tower. That way the industrial's on top of the parking and then the multifamily is on top of the industrial. And just kind of gives it a cool little layout. But again, you can do whatever you see fit to model this and just work on the assumptions, enter in the values you feel that make the most sense. Again, the concept with this 3D modeler is to really just go through different scenarios, different iterations. We can copy this project or share with our colleagues. And again, try to draw up the best and most optimal development play for this particular site. And again, once you complete those iterations, you can then export out each project to a PDF report and then share that report with your coworkers, investors, whoever it may be, just to give them an idea of where you are going with this particular site. So I'm going to now jump back to the dashboard, and we're going to go back to the search engine. I just want to go through one more city with you, and that's going to be Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're going to now scan that market. And again, I'm trying to, again, as I mentioned, demonstrate. Just want to show the flexibility of the software to just go into these various markets and various cities to really, again, kind of enter in similar criteria in different in certain guidelines that I have for my particular example, which again is industrial today, and just again find these specific sites relatively quickly. Now, again, we're going to go through the same exact steps. We're going to minimize our market scanner. We're going to zoom back out. We're going to minimize this demographic trends. And again, I'd like to say it's like more of a macro level view of a particular city or a bird's eye view. Turn that buildable area ratio on, which is, again, it's a very useful map layer to understanding a city and the city sentiment of how a city is being built out and designed. So again, we can see right here that roughly there's quite a bit of growth in this particular part of Philadelphia. So again, we'll start to zoom back in, kind of focus in on this particular area of Philadelphia. Now we'll go to that people layer, turn on employment. Again, just to get a good feel of the different neighborhoods in the different census tracts within Philadelphia and the employment percentages. And again, you don't always have to go where the deep red is. You can also do where you start seeing some orange, where is another demonstration of an offshoot or an artery of sorts of where you're starting to see some growth as well. So it could be, it just depends on what you're, again, looking for. But just a good indicator and understanding of dimension building density and the inventory growth. We can now look at median income. You'll see some solid median incomes in this particular area of Philadelphia. All right, look at the industrial rates to see what kind of dollar per square foot. Now this is a little bit on the lower side versus the previous two cities. Miami was more in that $20 to $25 range. Chicago was up to $30. So they're a little more get a little more money for your investment. This is a little on the lower side. It still does not mean it can't be a good investment. Just a different. Also, just gives you an idea of how the different marketplaces react. And all right, so we're going to continue to zoom in. And again, we get to the point where we're going to look for the parcels appearing in the blue outlines, and we'll now go to the market scanner and again pump in our criteria to go through the development of an industrial play. So now the blue lines are appearing. We'll expand our market scanner. And again, like I said, I like to always turn on lot size first, just to get an idea of the overall number of parcels that I can see in my viewport. We're looking at, now this is over 15,000 parcels matching or showing in my viewport right now. So this, again, this would be a great example of how fast we can narrow this down just to a handful. And we're going to do industrial, use allowed, select industrial. So now we're down to 3,600. Let's see what else we're going to do. Existing, we're going to do vacant land. So again, the way the vacant land works with the existing building slider, you basically just put zeros in, and it just pretty much shows that any parcel that does not have an existing building on it. Now we're down to 200. So again, we went from 15,000 parcels down to just 200 very quickly. And now again, we're going to go to our buildable area square footage. I'm going to start out with 300,000 just to get an idea of what's available out there. So now we're at 9 parcels. Let me zoom in a little more. All right, let's see if we can find how many parcels are available based on vacant property, industrial, and 500,000. All right, we're down to 2. So let's just focus in on these 2. We got, I believe this is 901 Market Street. Yes. Get a little street view again to kind of confirm what is existing there at the moment. And looks like this is right in the Fashion District of Philadelphia. And it's not going to probably work. So let's continue to scan the Philadelphia market. Let's see what else we can find. I know there's 2 parcels matching, so let's see where that second parcel's at. All right, there it is. Select this one. And again, here, just to go, as I mentioned in the previous example, when you select the parcel, the property info will appear. As I mentioned, it appears in both its front-end market scan interface as well as the Explorer interface where you do 3D modeling, and breaks down the demographic information, the property info, some building information, but then again, the key data that we bring to you is the zoning information. You get the zoning limits here, parking by use allowed, as I mentioned, and then the setbacks. But let's jump on that street view once again. Let's double check to see what is going on this particular site. It looks like, yeah, we're good. This is, again, parking lot could be a good off-market play, something you can, again, try to contact the owner to negotiate to see if we could develop on this particular parcel. Again, as I mentioned, I actually already started creating an example, but before I jump in and show you that example, I like to look at the road type. Again, some key roads, major roads right there going right through this property. So this could be a good development play for industrial. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my dashboard and pull up the project that I created for this particular site, just to give you an idea of what I developed. This was zoned, I believe, for industrial as well as office. So what I did is a little bit of industrial on the bottom with some office space on the top. And you can see here, this is the 3D model that I created. Again, as I mentioned previously, you can go through the different iterations, try to do everything possible to get this ROC at a higher number. But as I mentioned, you know, with my property info here and the zoning information, I basically followed these guidelines to construct this model in this 3D project, and went through, as I mentioned, you can focus just, if you don't want to do an office, you can just do industrial, see what that comes out to be. It just really depends on what you're trying to kind of evaluate and go through with your criteria and your examples. So again, the whole concept here is what I'm trying to demonstrate today is that, you know, we went through 3 different cities and we went through thousands and thousands of parcels, and again, in just a matter of minutes, narrow those parcels down to just a handful of sites. You know, validated those sites using Street View, looking at the different some market data based on those particular the sectors of these cities, sections of the cities, and upon selecting those sites, just kind of get a good idea of what makes the most sense. Show you some projects that I developed on 2 of the sites out of 2 of the 3 cities. And the whole concept here is we're trying to expedite this process. We're trying to reduce not only your time in terms of site selection, which we're seeing tremendous amount of time saved, but also your cost. I mean, using the software allows you to not have to spend as much money on professional fees and broker fees. It allows you to kind of go find the site that makes the most sense for your company, and then go present that deal to maybe your broker and say, listen, can you go find the owner for this, or even you just go directly and cut the broker out and just go directly to the owner and try to begin negotiation. And again, we see a lot of our clients doing this. They are using this very well for the site selection and kind of find these off-market deals they would never find ever before. Instead of waiting for a broker to bring them a deal, they're just finding them on their own, and again, kind of getting the ball rolling. We had one example, someone who found 20 properties, and within, again, relatively short period, they were able to get an LOI on one of those properties quickly. So it just goes to show you how fast you can, again, go through these sites of these major cities. And as we continue to expand, we're now entering into secondary markets as well as tertiary markets. So not only in all the primary markets, we're just starting to continue to spread. We have the ability to continue to add zoning to various cities throughout the country. So just giving you more opportunities and the ability to find these opportunities in this time where there's a lot of growth and a lot of markets. So the software is extremely beneficial in going through the site selection again, and then optimizing that site based on the 3D modeling and the financial analysis. So again, I do appreciate you guys joining me this week. I'm glad to be back. And we'll be doing some more exciting webinars each and every week. Again, visiting new cities that we're launching. We'll be showcasing new features and functionalities. And again, each week we're going to try to continue to bring something a little different to demonstrate the power of the software. Not only just going through the various markets and cities that we have with zoning, but also showing you the different ways of utilizing our software to really benefit you and your company. So again, thank you, and feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com if you have any other questions or want to, again, set up a one-on-one demo and go through this in more detail. Have a great day.